Howdy folks, in this video we'll look at and do a quick review of the Remington 8 amp electric pole saw. It is an electric saw, as I just mentioned. The pole saw can be used with a pole, obviously. There is the pole, and it can also be used, this chainsaw can be used by itself, which is the advantage of this kind of the two-in-one model, if you will, so that after you use the pole saw, you can detach it and use the chainsaw as is, so that you do not have to get an extra tool to do additional cutting that may be necessary. One thing I will mention quickly, if you do end up getting it and buying this, is that you'll have your serial number for the saw in two places here. I just covered it up, obviously, because I don't want it out there. But when you do get it, if you do get it, go ahead and write it down, so in case you do need to go ahead and contact the manufacturer, over time this number may wear off. So if you get this, you do get 2-year warranty on this. So make sure you have that information that may be necessary in the future. The saw part here, the chainsaw, is 10 inches and it is 8 amps, as I just mentioned, and the model of this one is going to be the Remington Ranger RM1025SPS. I'm actually doing this intro part of the video after I already have used it, so as you can see there is already some visible usage on this, because I wanted to use it so then I can do an accurate review of this instead of making a review without using that. The item is shipped in the box that is about 3.5 or so feet, I want to say, and it comes with the pole. You do need to attach the pole that you see right here. In the middle, it actually comes disassembled. Once you assemble it, it is kind of, it's shipped in half. Once you do assemble this part, you cannot disassemble it, so it is kind of like a snap-in option. And basically this pole as is going to be 6 feet. You can extend it on each side a little bit. You can extend it on this side and on that side. We'll look at that in a second. But once it is assembled like this, it is 6 feet. In the front, if you would like to do the extension, you will lift the holding bar here, and then you can extend it by 26 inches, which is 2 feet and about 2 inches, like this. And in the back, you can also do the extension here. So in total, from the very front, including the attachment to the pole saw, right here, and to the back, we're looking at almost 9 feet right now for the pole extended. According to the specifications on the box here, they're saying that the pole is supposed to be 10 feet. With my pole being extended all the way, it is 9 feet. So I'm not sure what happened in the mail, if it lost a foot, or if it didn't take all of its medications, but as far as I can measure it, it's going to be 9 feet, not 10. So a couple of things I want to mention, because I have already used it. As I mentioned, I'm doing this part of the intro after the fact that I have already used the chainsaw, and I'll show you some footage of it being in action here in just a moment. When you're doing just the 6-foot portion of the pole right there, it is fairly manageable, and you can work with that fairly easily, I want to say, without too much effort. Once you start extending it, you do need to be aware that you're working at an angle, right? You shouldn't be raising it above, your hands should be at about shoulder height and not higher. So it is going to be at an angle, and of course those 5 or 6 pounds of the chainsaw are going to be much more heavier, as they are, it will feel much heavier because they are on the pole here. So if you're going to extend just one side, it becomes tougher to use it, but you can still do that. If you're going to extend it the way it is fully extended now for the full 9 feet or so, it is going to be very difficult to use it that way. You can, but you do need to have a lot of hand strength in order to do that, because you have a lot of weight on that side, but you will not have any counterweight on this side. So with the pole being extended, when you are actually going to end up using the saw, you do need to make sure that you pre-plan your cuts ahead of time, meaning that you look at the place where you want to cut it, how are you going to approach it. So when you do put the effort into raising the pole with the saw, you're not standing there and trying to figure out how you're going to do that, because then you're wasting your effort and energy on that aspect. So look at it ahead of time, and that's one way that I discovered it's going to be easier for me. If you are buying this in store, on the box it clearly states that bar and chain oil not included, and you do need it in order to operate the chainsaw. I did buy it online, and I was not aware that it was not included, so I did have to make a quick trip to Lowe's here in order to get the bar and chain oil so that I can proceed with my job. If it would have been included in the packaging, would have been nice, but I think I got like 32 ounces for $5, so not too bad. It is just being aware that you do need it. Alright, now we can go ahead and fill up the chainsaw with a bar and chain oil. To do that, we'll remove the bulb, which is also the cap. And it is going to be very hard to see, but there is a little window right there where I'm shining the light on. Let me do it this way. It is right there. Per the manual, once it is half full, that is when it needs to be topped off. It is fairly hard to see, and the window is very small. It would have been nice if it was a little bigger. So we'll go ahead and fill it up. Alright, now the bar and the chain oil is filled, the saw is connected, we have our safety gear on. Let's do the first test run. It is loud, so having some ear protection would be helpful. The attachment and detachment of the chainsaw to the pole is fairly simple and easy to do. If you do this, you need to do it on a flat level surface, and you don't want to do it on the grass. And the reason for that is that this wing nut, once you remove it, you have this little washer here. You don't want to lose it. That's why I'm saying don't do it on the grass. You have a plate that comes off, and now you can go ahead and attach the chainsaw. You do need to depress it, so obviously make sure the power is off and you're not connecting the electric part yet, but you do need to press the trigger and the safety mechanisms. Basically, you're putting it on this pole in the on position with the trigger depressed. Okay? Once you do that, you will put the cover on, put the nut in here, and secure it firmly. Now you can go ahead and connect the power and proceed with the rest of the items. Alright, now let's go ahead and take a look at this saw in action. When not using the chainsaw, go ahead and keep the protective cardboard cover here for the saw, so this way you're not damaging the blade when you are not using it. There we go. So now that I have actually used it for a while, I'm actually fairly happy with the results that we have here. It was able to cut through all of the branches that I wanted to cut without any issues or hesitations at all. I don't have any larger branches to cut at this point, so I can't test that aspect. But it worked very well. It does have sufficient power to do everything that I needed to do. It does give me reach into places that I would not be able to reach normally, so I don't have any complaints on that. One thing to keep an eye on is that obviously as you do use it, it will have a lot of debris here that I noticed, so I'll need to take the cover off and clean that. So one tip I'll mention is make sure that you do that periodically. When using it as a chainsaw by itself without the pole, it is a little loud, so always wear ear protection. When you're using it on the pole, obviously it is further out, so it is not as bad. And of course, always wear your goggles. I would recommend use gloves that have very good grip if you're using it on the pole, because again the weight on the end of the pole is going to make it harder to control. So in order to have a very good grip, make sure your gloves have good grip as well. Hard hat, critical as well if you're cutting branches that are in the tree, in addition to all the safety items that are mentioned in the manual. I hope you have found this review helpful and beneficial. Thanks for watching.